The grand chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive structure of crystalline walls and impossible architecture. Inside, representatives from 847 star systems watched as Jiwan walked alone across the polished floor. Her footsteps echoed in the vast silence. She wore simple clothes, a dark suit that looked plain compared to the flowing robes and elaborate armor of the alien dignitaries around her. Jiwan stopped at the center of the chamber. Above her, seated on platforms that rose like stairs toward the domed ceiling, the council members stared down. Some had multiple eyes. Others had none at all. Some breathed oxygen like her. Others existed in containment fields filled with toxic gases. But all of them looked at her with the same expression. Contempt. Supreme Commander Sola spoke first. Her voice came through translators, cold and precise. She belonged to a species that looked vaguely reptilian, with silver scales and 3 fingers on each hand. Those hands had never held a weapon. Her species had been peaceful for 6,000 years. Ambassador Jiwan of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council to receive judgment. Jiwan said nothing. She had learned long ago that silence could be a weapon. Sola continued. Your species has existed in our galaxy for 30 of your years. In that time, you have claimed 14 colony worlds. You have expanded faster than any species in recorded history. You have refused to accept our guidance. You have rejected our offers of supervision. We have broken no laws, Jiwan said quietly. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not cruel laughter, but the kind adults give to children who say foolish things. Laws, Sola repeated. You speak of laws. We are the law. For 12,000 years, we have maintained order. We have prevented wars. We have guided younger species to enlightenment. And now you, barely capable of faster-than-light travel, dare to lecture us about laws? Jiwan felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her face calm. She had been a military strategist before becoming a diplomat. She knew how to control her emotions. We seek only to live freely. We have attacked no one. We have threatened no one. Thane, the representative from the Krell Empire, leaned forward. His species looked like mantises, tall and chitinous. Your very existence is a threat. We have studied your history, human. Your planet has known only war. In your last 1,000 years, you have fought over 300 major conflicts. You have killed billions of your own kind. And now you spread to the stars, carrying that violence with you. We have changed, Jiwan said. No, Sola said sharply. You have not. Our psychologists have analyzed your species. You are primitives, aggressive, unpredictable, dangerous, the Council has decided. You will surrender all colony worlds to our administration. You will accept permanent monitoring. Your military will be disbanded. Your faster-than-light technology will be restricted. You will become wards of the Council. And perhaps in a few thousand years you may earn the right to join civilized society. The chamber fell silent. Jiwan stood perfectly still. She could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching her, waiting for her reaction. They expected her to beg, to plead, to accept their mercy. No, she said. The silence deepened. Then Sola laughed. It was a genuine laugh, filled with disbelief. No, you believe you have a choice? Every thinking being has a choice, Jiwan said. We choose freedom. We choose to govern ourselves. We choose to reject your ultimatum. Then you choose extinction, Sola said. The laughter was gone from her voice now. I will give you 7 standard days. Return to your people. Tell them what awaits if they do not surrender. 7 days, Ambassador. Then we will demonstrate what happens to primitives who defy the Council. Jiwan bowed slightly. A gesture of respect she did not feel. She turned and walked back across the chamber. The aliens watched her go. Some looked amused. Others looked bored. None looked worried. On her ship, Jiwan immediately contacted Earth. Director Hyunwoo appeared on her screen. He was older than her, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent 40 years preparing Earth's defenses for a war he hoped would never come. They gave us 7 days, Jiwan said. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. And if we refuse? They will destroy us. All of us, every human colony. Earth itself, can they do it? Yes, their fleet numbers over 10,000 ships. We have maybe 300 vessels that could fight. The math is simple. Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. It was not a happy smile. The math is never simple when humans are involved. Activate Protocol Defiance. Across human space, alerts began flashing. On the outer colony of New Jeju, Captain Minho received the message on his exploration vessel. He read it twice, then called his crew together. They were miners and scientists, not soldiers. But like most humans who ventured into space, they had trained for this possibility. War is coming, Minho told them. The council gave us a week to surrender. Command says we fight. His crew looked at each other. A young engineer named Taijin spoke up. Captain, they have 10,000 warships. What do we have? Minho smiled. We have something they don't. We have 5,000 years of fighting each other. We know war. They've forgotten it. At a military research station hidden in an asteroid field, Chief Engineer Taijin's counterpart, also named Taijin but older and far more cynical, worked frantically. He had been designing weapons systems for 15 years, always hoping they would never be used. Now he rushed to complete his projects. His assistant, a young woman named Yuna, helped him install new targeting systems on fighter craft. These don't make sense, she said, looking at the specifications. The firing patterns are random. The yields are inconsistent. Any AI would outperform this. Exactly, Taijin said. The council relies on AI targeting. Perfect, logical, predictable. Our systems are chaotic, random, human. Yuna understood. You're fighting their logic with our madness. I prefer to call it creativity, Taijin said. But yes. On Earth, millions of people watched the news broadcasts. The council's ultimatum had been made public. Some people panicked. Some prayed. Some prepared to fight. In military academies, young officers studied the limited information available about council ship designs. In factories, workers volunteered for extra shifts to build more weapons. A fighter pilot named Yunji sat in her cockpit running system checks. She was stationed at New Jeju, the outermost colony. If the council attacked, they would hit her position first. She was 23 years old. She had never fired a weapon in combat. You scared? Her wingman asked over the radio. Yunji thought about it. Yes, but I'm more angry than scared. They think we'll just surrender because they're bigger than us. They think we're primitives. We are primitives, her wingman said. Compared to them? No, Yunji said. We're survivors. There's a difference. The 7 days passed. Humanity did not surrender. On Earth, Director Hyunwoo stood in the command center, watching display screens that showed defensive positions across human space. He knew they were about to face an enemy they could not defeat through conventional means, but humans had never been conventional. All stations, he broadcast. This is Director Hyunwoo. The council expects us to surrender. They expect us to beg for mercy. They think we are primitive savages who will collapse at the first sign of their superiority. Let us show them what human primitives can do. All ships, all stations, all personnel, stand ready. And remember, we do not fight to win. We fight because we refuse to kneel. Across the galaxy, the council fleet assembled. 10,000 warships, each one a masterpiece of technology refined over millennia. They jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading toward human space. Supreme Commander Sola watched from her flagship, confident in victory. The war had begun. Neither side truly understood what they had started. The council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Jeju system. 3,000 warships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. They moved in perfect formation, their approach calculated by AI systems that had never lost a battle. On the flagship, Supreme Commander Sola studied the tactical display. The human colony appeared on her screens, a small settlement on a rocky world orbiting a yellow star. Orbital scans showed minimal defenses. No capital ships. A few scattered installations on the planet's surface. Some mining operations in the asteroid belt. This will be finished in hours, her tactical officer said. He was young for his species, only 200 years old. He had studied warfare as a historical curiosity, never expecting to practice it. Begin the assault, Sola ordered. Destroy all military installations. Leave the civilian areas intact. We will accept their surrender once they understand resistance is futile. The fleet advanced, and that was when everything went wrong. Yunji watched from her hiding position deep inside an asteroid. Her fighter was powered down, running on minimal systems. Around her, 300 other human pilots waited in similar positions. They had been hiding here for 2 days, waiting. All wings. Captain Minho's voice crackled over the radio. He was aboard a small command ship hidden on the far side of the colony's moon. The council is moving into position. Remember your training. Forget everything you learned about fair fighting. We are outnumbered 10-1. Our only advantage is that they have never fought an enemy like us. Yunji powered up her fighter. The small craft hummed to life, its reactor barely larger than her cockpit. Compared to the massive Council warships, her fighter was nothing. A mosquito attacking an elephant, she smiled. Mosquitoes killed more humans throughout history than any predator. Size was not everything. All fighters engage, Minho ordered. 300 human fighters burst from their hiding positions. They moved fast, far faster than the Council ships expected. The Council tactical computers registered the targets and began calculating firing solutions. But the human fighters did not fly in predictable patterns. They twisted and rolled and dove in ways that made no tactical sense. Yunji pushed her fighter through maneuvers that stressed the frame to its limits. She felt the G-forces trying to crush her, felt her vision narrowing. She ignored it. The Council ships fired. Massive energy beams lanced through space, tracking the human fighters with mathematical precision. And missing. The human ships were too small, too fast, too erratic. Yunji armed her missiles. They were crude compared to Council weapons. Shorter range, less powerful, but her targeting system was not controlled by AI. She aimed manually, using instincts developed through thousands of hours of training. She fired. Her missiles streaked toward a Council cruiser. The cruiser's defensive systems tracked them, calculated their trajectory, and prepared to intercept. But Yunji had fired them in a spiral pattern, each missile on a slightly different course. The Council defenses could not track them all. 2 missiles struck home. The cruiser's shields flared and died. Atmosphere vented from multiple hull breaches. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human fighters, impossibly small and fragile, swarmed the Council fleet. They died by the dozens, but they kept coming. On the Council flagship, Sola watched in growing confusion. What are they doing? This is suicide. No rational being would throw away their lives like this. Her tactical officer had no answer. The AI systems were designed for warfare between ships of comparable size and capability. They had no protocols for dealing with an enemy that seemed to welcome death. A human fighter, its hull breached and leaking atmosphere, deliberately crashed into a Council destroyer. The explosion crippled the larger ship. They are insane, Sola whispered. She was wrong. The human pilots were not insane. They were terrified. But they had all volunteered, and they all understood what was at stake. Behind them were their homes, their families, everything they loved. The Council offered only slavery or death. Given those choices, they chose to make death expensive. Chief Engineer Taijun watched the battle from the colony's command center. His weapon systems were performing better than expected. The random firing patterns confused the Council targeting computers. The variable yields meant the Council could not calculate optimal shield frequencies. But humans were still dying. He forced himself to watch as fighter after fighter vanished from his displays. Beside him, Intelligence Officer Yuna was running analysis on captured Council communication signals. Suddenly she gasped. What is it? Taijun asked. I found something. Look at these bio readings from the Council ships. Their crews are experiencing massive stress responses, heart rates elevated, neurological patterns showing extreme anxiety. Taijun frowned. They are in a battle. That seems normal. No, Yuna said. Look at the historical data. When Council species fought each other thousands of years ago, they did not show these readings. Something changed. I think they have been genetically modified to be less aggressive, less capable of handling combat stress. Taijun understood immediately. They made themselves peaceful. Too peaceful. They cannot handle real war anymore. And we can, Yuna said quietly. We have never stopped fighting. It is in our DNA. On the battlefield, Yunji's fighter took a direct hit. Her left engine exploded. Warning alarms screamed. She had maybe 30 seconds before life support failed. She looked at her display. A Council battleship was directly ahead, its massive guns turning toward the colony below. Yunji made her choice. She pushed her damaged fighter to maximum speed and aimed directly at the battleship's bridge. The Council crew saw her coming. They fired everything they had. Energy beams tore through her fighter, shredding the hull. But momentum carried her forward. She did not try to evade. Her fighter struck the battleship at 3,000 meters per second. The explosion was small, barely noticeable against the battleship's massive bulk, but it was enough. The bridge was destroyed. The battleship went dark. Yunji never knew that her sacrifice had killed the Council's second-in-command. She never knew that her final action would be studied in military academies for generations. She simply made the choice that every human fighter made that day: die standing, not kneeling. After 4 hours of battle, Supreme Commander Sola ordered a withdrawal. The tactical situation made no sense. She had lost 300 ships. 300? Against an enemy that had maybe 50 vessels left operational. But those 50 human ships were still fighting. Still attacking, still refusing to surrender. As the Council fleet jumped away, Sola reviewed the battle reports. The numbers were clear. At this rate of exchange, humanity would lose. They had to lose. The mathematics demanded it. But she remembered the human fighter that deliberately crashed into her flagship. She remembered the pilots who kept fighting even as their ships fell apart around them. For the first time in her 300-year life, Sola felt something she had no name for. Her species had eliminated this emotion through genetic engineering 6,000 years ago. It was fear. On New Jeju, the surviving colonists emerged from their shelters. The orbital bombardment they expected never came. The Council fleet was gone. Captain Minho stood in the ruins of his command center, watching the rescue team search for survivors among the fighter wings. They found few. Of the 300 pilots who had engaged the Council fleet, only 47 returned. But the colony stood. Earth stood. Humanity had faced the Council's might and survived the first blow. Director Hyunwoo's message arrived minutes later. All stations, this is command. The Council has withdrawn from New Jeju. They will return with greater numbers. We have bought time, nothing more. But we have also sent a message. Humanity does not surrender. Humanity fights, and humanity makes every inch of ground cost rivers of blood. Theirs or ours. Prepare for the next wave. Across human space, the message was received, and humanity prepared for war. The Council did not make the same mistake twice. When they returned, it was not with 3,000 ships. It was with 40,000, the largest military fleet ever assembled in galactic history. They did not come to fight. They came to erase. The human colony of New Busan died in fire. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel and immediately began bombardment. They did not wait for surrender. They did not offer terms. They simply destroyed everything. 20 million people lived on New Busan. After 3 hours, there were none. The colony of New Incheon died next. Then New Gwangju. The Council moved systematically through human space, overwhelming each defensive position through sheer numbers. Human fighters fought desperately. They died bravely. It made no difference. On Earth, people watched the broadcasts in horror. The Council was not fighting a war. They were committing genocide. Ambassador Jiwon stood before the communication array in Geneva. She was broadcasting on all galactic channels, ensuring every species in the Council could hear her words. People of the galaxy, she began. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with cold fury. You have chosen to annihilate humanity. You claim we are too violent, too primitive, too dangerous to exist alongside your civilized species. She paused, letting her words sink in. You wanted to see what humans become when faced with extinction. You wanted to see our true nature. So watch carefully. Remember this moment, because now you will learn what monsters we can be when we have nothing left to lose. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, billions of aliens watched. Most felt satisfaction. The primitive humans were finally being put in their place. None of them understood the warning. Seojin worked in a small office deep beneath Earth's surface. His title was Psychological Operations Specialist. His job was to find ways to hurt the enemy without firing a single shot. He had been preparing for this his entire career. Now he unleashed everything. The first broadcasts reached the Council fleet within hours. They were not propaganda. They were education. Seojun transmitted humanity's complete history, unfiltered and uncensored. The Council crews watched recordings of Earth's wars, the trenches of the Great War, where men lived in mud and died by the millions. The atomic fires of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the killing fields of Cambodia, the gas chambers of the Holocaust, Rwanda, Bosnia, Syria, humanity's darkest moments compiled and transmitted in high definition. But it was not just the violence. Seojun included context, tactical analysis, strategic studies. He showed how humans developed warfare into a science, how they wrote books about killing efficiently, how they built entire economies around the production of weapons. He showed them that humans had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of destroying each other. This is what we did to ourselves, the broadcast said. Imagine what we will do to you. The effect was immediate and devastating. The council species had been genetically modified for millennia to reduce aggression and violence. They had built peaceful societies free from war. Their children grew up never seeing real violence. Now they saw nothing but violence, and their minds could not cope. Council ships began reporting psychological casualties, crew members experiencing what human doctors would call post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety attacks, depression. Some refused to continue fighting. Others had complete mental breakdowns. Supreme Commander Sola tried to block the transmissions, but they came from everywhere. Human ships broadcasted them. Hidden transmitters on asteroids broadcasted them. Even the debris from destroyed human vessels broadcasted them. Sola could not escape the images. She found herself dreaming about human soldiers in trenches, dying slowly from poison gas. She woke screaming. On Earth, scientist Jiho worked in a Level 5 biosafety laboratory. She was a virologist specializing in human immune responses. Now she worked on weaponizing them. The council species lived in clean, sterile environments. They had eliminated most diseases through technology and genetic engineering. Their immune systems had grown weak, unnecessary. Jiho created a series of biological agents based on Earth's most aggressive pathogens, modified, enhanced, designed to spread rapidly in the sterile environments of council ships. It was a war, crime by every definition humanity had ever created. Jiho knew this. She proceeded anyway. If they want to see monsters, she told her assistant, then we become monsters. Commander Da-hyun led Earth's remaining defense fleet in a series of attacks that seemed suicidal. She hit council supply lines, logistics centers, communication relays. Her ships took massive casualties. But every target she struck was left broadcasting. The broadcast played sounds, human war songs, battle cries from ancient conflicts, the sound of drums and screaming and weapons clashing. But more disturbing were the quiet sounds. Soldiers crying for their mothers as they died, children weeping in destroyed cities, the last words of people who knew death was coming. The council crews could not escape these sounds. They haunted their ships, playing from damaged communication systems echoing through corridors. Some council ships simply stopped fighting. Their crews sat in silence, too traumatized to continue. The war dragged on for 6 months. The council kept winning territory. They destroyed more human colonies. But the cost kept rising. For every human ship destroyed, they lost 4 of their own. The mathematics still favored the council, but barely, and the psychological cost could not be measured in ships. 3 council species withdrew from the war effort. Their populations demanded it. The Krell Empire's representative, Thane, sent a secret message to Ambassador Jiwon. "We never wanted this war," the message said. Sola pushed for it. "We followed because we always followed. But this is madness. How do we stop it?" Jiwon's reply was brief. "Surrender, or fight us until we are all dead. Those are your only options." On a council cruiser near the Jupiter orbital stations, a crew of young officers boarded a derelict human ship. It appeared abandoned, drifting without power. Standard salvage protocols said to investigate. They found the ship empty. 1 corridor, 1 room, and on the wall, written in the council's most common language, a simple message. "You started a war. We will finish it." The ship's self-destruct activated. The explosion destroyed the cruiser and 2 escort ships. It was not a military victory. The council had thousands of ships. They could afford to lose 3, but it was a message. And the message was clear. Humanity would not stop, could not stop. They would fight to the last human in the last ship, until either they were extinct or the council was. Supreme Commander Sola received reports of the destroyed cruiser. She also received reports that 15% of her fleet was combat ineffective due to psychological casualties. She received reports that 3 member species had withdrawn support. She received reports that anti-war movements were growing on council homeworlds. And she received one more report. Human ships had been detected moving toward the council's central shipyards at Terminus Station. It was a suicide mission. They could not possibly succeed. But Sola was learning that human suicide missions had a way of causing disproportionate damage. She made her decision. Prepare the final assault. We will gather every remaining ship and attack Earth directly. We will end this war in one decisive battle, and we will ensure that no trace of humanity remains. Her officers looked uncertain. Supreme Commander, the psychological impact on our crews. I do not care, Sola said. We finish this now, the order went out. The Council's remaining fleet, 15,000 ships, began assembling for the attack on humanity's homeworld. On Earth, Director Hyunwoo watched the Council fleet movements with tired eyes. He had not slept in 3 days. They are coming for us. Everything they have left. Can we stop them? An aide asked. Hyunwoo smiled. It was a terrible smile. No, but we can make them regret it. Activate final defensive protocols. And contact Jiwon. Tell her to prepare the contingency. Across human space, the final preparations began. Every ship, every weapon, every human who could hold a gun moved toward Earth. The war was about to reach its conclusion. One way or another, it would end soon. The Council fleet arrived at Earth's solar system like a swarm of locusts blotting out the stars. 15,000 warships, each one massive and powerful. They emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their weapons already charging. Supreme Commander Sola stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking at the blue-green planet on her display. Earth, the human homeworld. After this day, it would be nothing but ashes and radiation. All ships, she broadcast, begin planetary bombardment. Do not stop until nothing lives. But then she saw what waited for them. Every human ship in existence had gathered here. Cruisers and destroyers, frigates and carriers, mining vessels retrofitted with weapons, cargo haulers armed with missiles, even civilian pleasure craft carrying nothing but volunteers and explosives. And beyond the ships, millions of small craft. Personal shuttles, escape pods, anything that could fly and hold a human being. They formed a sphere around Earth, a living shield of metal and flesh. Sola stared in disbelief. They brought civilians. They brought everyone. Her tactical officer was equally shocked. Scans show life signs in those small craft, families, children. They are using their own people as shields. No, Sola whispered. They are not using them as shields. Those people volunteered. They all volunteered. On one of those small craft, a teacher named Mion held her daughter's hand. The girl was 8 years old, too young to understand what was happening, too young to know that in minutes she might die. Mom, why are we in space? The girl asked. Mion smiled through her tears. Because Earth is our home, and sometimes to protect your home you have to stand in front of it. The Council fleet opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space. Missiles streaked toward their targets. The human ships returned fire, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. Commander Da-hyun commanded the human defense fleet from her flagship. She had fought in every major battle of the war. She had watched friends die. She had sent thousands of people to their deaths with her orders. Now she would join them. All ships engage at will, she ordered. Make them pay for every meter. The human ships charged forward. They did not try to form defensive lines. They did not attempt tactical retreats. They simply attacked, accepting that they would die, determined to take as many Council ships with them as possible. Da-hyun's flagship took heavy fire within the first minute. Hull breaches on 6 decks, life support failing. She ignored the damage reports and kept giving orders. A Council battleship filled her view screen. She armed every weapon her ship possessed and fired. The battleship's shields held. Return fire tore through her flagship's armor. Abandon ship, someone shouted. No, Da-hyun said calmly. Ramming speed. Her flagship, already crippled and dying, accelerated toward the Council battleship. The battleship tried to evade, but Da-hyun anticipated the maneuver. Her ship struck the battleship's engineering section. Both ships exploded. Across the battlefield, similar sacrifices played out. Human ships, damaged and outgunned, used their final moments to inflict maximum damage. They rammed Council vessels. They detonated their reactors at point-blank range. They became weapons themselves. Young Officer Sun-ho watched from his station on one of Earth's orbital defense platforms. He was 24 years old. He had graduated from the academy 6 months ago. Now he was the senior surviving officer on the platform. Sir, a technician said, we have authorization codes for Contingency Omega. Sun-ho's blood went cold. Contingency Omega was the final option. A weapon system designed to destroy not just the Council fleet, but the Council homeworlds themselves. It would create a chain reaction that would sterilize every major council planet. It was genocide. The same thing the council was attempting against humanity. Do not activate it yet, Sunho said. Wait for my order. The battle raged for hours. The council lost ships by the hundreds. Their superior technology and numbers meant they were still winning, but the cost was enormous. Sola watched her fleet shrink on the tactical display. She had expected resistance. She had not expected this. The humans fought with a desperation that seemed insane. A mother in a civilian shuttle deliberately crashed into a council destroyer, killing herself and her child to damage the larger ship. What kind of species does this? Sola asked. No one answered. On Earth, billions watched the battle above their heads. They saw the flashes of explosions. They saw ships falling from orbit, burning through the atmosphere like meteors. Civilian leader Mion had survived the initial fighting by luck. Her small craft had been damaged but not destroyed. She broadcast a message on all channels hoping someone was listening. To the survivors, both human and council, I am a teacher. I have never held a weapon. I came here with my daughter because I believed our home was worth protecting. But I do not want my daughter to live in a galaxy built on genocide. I am broadcasting to the human forces. Please do not use contingency Omega. If we become monsters to defeat monsters, then we have already lost. Her message reached Sunho. He looked at the authorization codes on his screen. One command. That was all it would take. Humanity would die, but they would take the council with them. He thought about his own family, dead now in the destroyed colony of New Busan. He thought about revenge. How sweet it would be to ensure the council paid the ultimate price. Then he thought about Mion's words. About becoming monsters. Ambassador Jiwan's ship was crippled, drifting without power. She had fought alongside the defense fleet, refusing to stay in safety while others died. Now her ship was dead, but she was alive. She opened a communication channel to the council flagship. It took 3 attempts before Sola answered. Supreme Commander, Jiwan said. Her voice was hoarse from breathing smoke-filled air. I am offering terms. Sola almost laughed. Almost. But she looked at her tactical display. She had started with 15,000 ships. Now she had maybe 8,000 still combat-capable, and the humans were still fighting. What terms? Sola asked. Immediate ceasefire. Complete withdrawal from human space. Dissolution of the Council's military authority. In exchange, we will not pursue revenge. We will not hunt down your homeworlds. We will let you live. You are losing, Sola said. Why would I accept terms from a losing enemy? Because, Jiwan said quietly, you know we have contingency Omega. You know what it will do. And you know that even if you destroy every human here, our colonies will still exist, and they will use Omega. You will win this battle and lose everything else. It was a bluff. Jiwan had no idea if the colonies would actually use Omega, but Sola did not know that. Sola looked at her own tactical display. 8,000 ships. Still enough to destroy Earth, still enough to win. But the humans had proven they would not surrender. They would fight to the last. And if even one human survived with access to Omega, she had spent 6 months learning what humans were capable of when pushed to extinction. She did not want to learn what they would do after achieving it. Ceasefire, Sola said. The word tasted like ashes. Across the battlefield, weapons stopped firing. Human and council ships drifted in the debris field, both sides too exhausted to continue. Sunho looked at the authorization codes for Omega 1 last time. Then he deleted them. On Earth, people emerged from shelters to see the sky filled with wreckage. Millions had died. Millions more would die from injuries and radiation. But Earth still lived. Humanity still lived. Jiwan's ship was recovered by a human salvage team. As they pulled her from the wreckage, she asked only one question. Did they accept the terms? Yes, the medic said. The council fleet is withdrawing. Jiwan closed her eyes. They had survived. But at what cost? The war was over, but its consequences were only beginning. The war ended not with triumph, but with silence. The council fleet jumped away from Earth's solar system, leaving behind debris and the dead. Humanity counted its losses and found them devastating. 4 colonies destroyed completely. Earth's orbital infrastructure in ruins. 60% of the human military dead. 140 million civilians killed. But humanity survived. And that was what mattered. Supreme Commander Sola returned to the Council's capital world to find chaos. The war had lasted only 8 months, but those months had shattered 12,000 years of peace. 3 major species had withdrawn from the council completely. 5 others were in open rebellion against the central government. The council's economy, geared for peaceful trade for millennia, had collapsed under the strain of military production. Factories that once made consumer goods now sat empty. Trade routes were disrupted. Unemployment reached levels not seen in recorded history. But worse than the economic damage was the psychological trauma. The council species had engineered themselves for peace. They had removed the genetic capacity for violence, for aggression, for war. Then they had been forced into the most brutal conflict the galaxy had ever seen. Billions of council citizens suffered from what human doctors would call post-traumatic stress disorder. They had nightmares. They could not function. Mental health facilities were overwhelmed. Sola stood before what remained of the council assembly. Where once 847 species gathered, now only 200 attended. The others had left or were too damaged to participate. "We have failed," Sola said. There was no emotion in her voice. She had used up all her emotions during the war. "We believed ourselves superior. We believed our advanced technology and ancient civilization made us better than the humans. We were wrong." Thane, the Krell representative, spoke up. "We were not just wrong. We were fools. We saw humans as primitives because they still fought wars. We did not understand that their experience with war made them better at it than we could ever be. What do we do now?" Another representative asked. Sola had no answer. For the first time in her 300-year life, she simply did not know. On Earth, Director Hyunwoo faced a different problem. Humanity had won, but the victory was changing them in ways he found deeply troubling. Every human colony was now a militarized fortress. Children as young as 10 received combat training. The entire economy had shifted to military production. Art, music, literature all took second place to weapons development. Humanity was becoming what the Council had feared, a species defined entirely by warfare. Hyunwoo met with Ambassador Ji-won in the ruins of Geneva. Both of them were older now, aged by stress more than time. "We are losing ourselves," Hyunwoo said. "We fought to remain free. But look at what we have become. Every decision is military. Every resource goes to defense. We are turning into a civilization built only for war." Ji-won nodded slowly. She had seen the same thing. The Council was right about one thing. We are dangerous. Not because we are primitive, but because we are too good at violence. "Can we change back?" Hyunwoo asked. "I do not know," Ji-won said honestly. "The galaxy knows what we are capable of now. If we disarm, will they see it as weakness? Will another council rise to finish what this one started?" There were no easy answers. Young Officer Sunho, now promoted to captain for his actions during the final battle, stood in a military cemetery. Row after row of markers stretched to the horizon. Each one represented a human who died in the war. He found Dayun's marker, the commander who had taught him everything, who had sacrificed herself to save the planet. "We won," Sunho said to the marker. "But I am not sure what we won. The right to exist? The right to be feared? I deleted the Omega codes like you would have wanted. But part of me wonders if that was the right choice. If we had used Omega, no one would ever threaten us again." The marker had no answer. The dead never did. Across the galaxy, the effects of the war rippled outward. The Council species, psychologically shattered and economically ruined, began a long decline. Within 10 years, most of their advanced civilizations had collapsed. They had built their society on peace and cooperation. When forced to make war, they could not adapt. Their genetic modifications, designed to make them better citizens, made them incapable of survival in a violent universe. Humanity, meanwhile, grew stronger. They expanded cautiously, building new colonies. But these colonies were different from the ones that existed before the war. They were fortified, armed, ready, and the galaxy feared them. 50 years after the war, a new Galactic Council formed. This time humanity sat at the center, not because they wanted to, but because every other species insisted. "You defeated the old council," they said. "You are the strongest. You must lead." Ji-won, now 93 years old and still serving as humanity's primary diplomat, addressed the new council. She spoke slowly, choosing her words carefully. "Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We never did. We wanted only to be left alone. But the old council would not allow it. They attacked us because they saw our capacity for violence and feared it. She paused, looking at the gathered representatives. Many of them had fought in the war. All of them remembered. The old council was right to fear us. We are dangerous. We have spent our entire history perfecting the art of killing. When pushed to extinction, we responded with a brutality that shocked the galaxy. We won not through superior technology or numbers, but through our willingness to suffer any cost to survive. But, she continued, we also chose mercy. At the moment of our greatest victory, when we held the weapon that could have destroyed every council homeworld, we chose not to use it. That choice defines us as much as our capacity for violence. So yes, humanity will lead this new council, but we will not lead through fear. We will lead by example. We will show that strength and compassion can exist together, that a species can be capable of terrible violence yet choose peace. The council representatives listened. Some believed her. Others remained skeptical. Time would tell which group was right. On Earth, in a small school rebuilt from the ruins of war, Teacher Mion stood before a class of children. They had all been born after the war ended. They knew of it only through stories. Today we study the Council War, Mion said. This is not easy history, but it is important. A student raised her hand. My grandfather says we should be proud. We defeated the Council. Your grandfather is right, Mion said. We should be proud that we survived, that we refused to surrender our freedom. But we should also remember the cost. Millions died, and we became something darker, something harder. The question you must answer, your generation, is whether we can become gentle again without becoming weak. Another student asked, are we still dangerous? Mion thought carefully before answering. Yes, we carry within us the capacity for terrible violence. Every human does. But we also carry the capacity for mercy, for compassion, for choosing peace even when we could choose war. The challenge is to maintain both. To be strong enough that no one dares attack us, yet gentle enough that we do not become the monsters we fought against. In a distant star system, Captain Sunho's grandson prepared his exploration ship for launch. He was named Minho after the hero of New Jeju. He was setting out to explore uncharted space, seeking new worlds and new life. Before departure, his grandfather gave him a gift, a small data chip containing the complete history of the Council War. Why do I need this? Young Minho asked. The war is over. We won, old Sunho smiled sadly. You need it to remember what we are capable of. Both the best and worst of us. You will explore the galaxy as a representative of humanity. Some species will welcome you. Others will fear you because of what we did during the war. What should I tell them? Tell them the truth. That humanity is capable of terrible things when threatened, but we are also capable of mercy when we have every reason for revenge. We are complex, contradictory, dangerous and kind in equal measure. And if they attack us, Sunho's smile vanished. Then you remind them why the council no longer exists. But only if they attack first. Never forget, Minho. Our strength comes not from our willingness to use violence, but from our ability to choose when to use it. Young Minho's ship launched, heading into the unknown. Behind him, humanity continued its long, difficult transformation, trying to become a species that could be both strong and gentle, both feared and respected. It would take generations. Perhaps it would never be complete. But they were trying, and that was what mattered. The Council had declared war against humans, believing them to be primitives who would quickly surrender. Instead, they discovered a species that had spent its entire history learning to survive against impossible odds. A species that would rather die fighting than live as slaves. The Council paid for their arrogance with extinction. Not the physical extinction they had planned for humanity, but the extinction of their civilization, their way of life, their very identity, and humanity. Having survived the greatest threat to their existence, faced an even harder challenge, surviving their own victory, remaining human in a galaxy that now feared them. The war was over. The real test was just beginning.